Hi everybody, my name is Cheri. Welcome to my stamp studio. We are to the end of my week long of new videos from this new catalog and my catalog kickoff week. So if you're watching today and this video has gotten a little bit later than I intended for it to be posted, but if you're still watching on the 6th, it's the last day that I have some extra additional specials they're freebies if you purchase from my website today. Also, if you're watching today, when I got on this morning to place my final giant order it was mostly ribbons and embellishments because I still add a few of the extra papers. And one of them is today's paper because sometimes when I do my try it class, any of the cards that I end up using like a 4 by 5 1/4 on, I always have to get more of that because it takes a lot of paper to do that. So when I placed that order this morning, I saw that Hues of Happiness, which is my next online class in May, is on low inventory. So you have today, I imagine by this weekend, that will be on back order. So you can place an order today and get the additional catalog kickoff specials. You can sign up for my class today and maybe still get the bundle, but you can do the card only things. You can go to my Facebook page and there you will see I have posted all of the samples that I have made so far with things from this new catalog. I made an album over there on my Facebook, my Cheri's Cards Facebook page, so you can go there and check them out. I'll keep posting things, but next week my husband has surgery. I'm going to Michigan for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days with my girlfriends for a Stampin' Up! Event. And that follows the day that my husband has surgery. So crossing my fingers and saying lots of prayers that still is able to happen. So next week we'll slow down a little bit. All my try it cards are finished. When I get that 12th project done, I'm always so happy. All of it's measured, all of the ribbon and all that awful math calculations are done. My first card project for Card Club is done. And if you want to get in on May's Card Club, that link is up. And my VIP videos, the projects are done. So we're going to start cutting the paper for that tonight. So all of that's done, but next week's going to be a lot of cutting, surgery, traveling. So I'll try to get a couple of videos up next week, but it won't be nearly what this week was. And that's why I tried to get a lot up for you this week. So for this last card, I looked at the stack of stuff I bought and I thought, oh, what do I want to do? And all of my paper is downstairs. My studio is upstairs at our house. So I didn't use any paper, but this paper is fabulous. And so if you're in try it class, this card has a lot of paper on it. I got a lot of paper on a lot of the cards. And in fact, when I was making the card, I sent a picture of this piece to my friends because I have this right here. It's a sweatshirt. I got it from Macy's. I don't think last year, I think the year before. It's very trendy, very pretty paper. But when I sat down to use it, the stamp set, like I said, the paper's downstairs where we're cutting because we watch TV while we cut. I don't have the paper and I really wanted to use this ribbon because I haven't used this ribbon yet. So we're not going to go with the colors that are in the paper. This is kind of brighter than what I'm going to go with because you don't have to have the papers. So I'm going to use the Awash and Beauty and True Beauty bundle to make the card, but I'm not going to use the paper. So, you know, the paper is beautiful, so you might want to get it. And I am going to use the Iridescent Pearl Basic Jewels, which do go with this suite. And then I'm going to use that ribbon. So that's what we're going to use. I am going to use a piece of the rose gold metallic paper that is new. And if you didn't catch, I am going to try to do a walkthrough if I get to it before I leave next week. So you can see all of the stuff that I've done. But this is the paper that I used on this card. So this card's up. And I'm going to use it for die cutting again. This is just a much smaller piece. If you're going to try it, you're going to get some of these dies on one of your cards because they're just so pretty. So let's see where to start. So I'm going to use the True Beauty stamps. I'm going to use them all. I ended up not putting any words. There are some sentiments in this set. I don't want you to think there aren't any. Just my card has a lot going on the front. And then I just went over, I hope I have enough of these. I have a scrap bucket. How many of you have a scrap bucket? And in my scrap bucket, I have two. One that's all colors of cardstocks. And then the other one is shimmer white, white, and vanilla. So I pulled out some shimmer white because I want this card to be very pretty. It could be a Mother's Day card. Maybe it will be my Mother's Day card. So first I'm gonna use two colors on my stamps. So I have the ones that are flowers in this set. So let's go Sahara Sand. And let's pick this one to do Sahara Sand. I did not clean them. And I know some of you have a hard time doing this technique, but I'm going to do Sahara Sand on that one. And then let's do Crumb Cake on this one. I'm supposed to get my UPS order today. I earned the incentive trip last year that we should, if it was happening, and it could have really happened, we should have been going next week. So we're doing a virtual one. Can I be honest and say it, you know, it is what it is. It's a virtual thing, and I'm over Zoom. I like meeting with you guys, but some of it, like we Zoom all the time as Stampin' Up! Leaders. I'm just done with that. So there is a Zoom one, but we do get our presents today. I'm looking forward to getting the presents. And we also got a nice huge payout for it instead of the trip. So my husband and I we're going to go to Disney, but I'm not using the money on that. That's a family trip. So this is Petal Pink. I'm just trying to hit the flowers. You can see this one has flowers up around it. This one's going to be just a little bit different. So those are kind of my light neutral colors. Now let's go Blushing Bride. And we'll hit this one. And I'm just kind of going to go around the edges. Kind of keep that middle, the Petal Pink. And then for Blushing Bride, let's do this whole little flower right here. I don't even remember what I did because I made this card and then I went and answered emails and did a bunch of other things. So the colors may not be what's on there, so we may getting a second coat. Now let's do Mary Merlot. And I am going to do it on this one. And again, I'm just going to tap the edges. This is, I don't think it's distinctive. It just has some like patterns in it. So Mary Merlot there, and then let's get Mary Merlot on the edge of this one. And maybe a tiny bit on the bottom. And then I have Melon Mambo, which is funny. I thought it was polished pink. It must have been in the wrong slot in my thing. I just now noticed when I looked at the color. And I didn't do this one. So around the edges. This one's a little bit difficult because I put it so close together. And then if I can tap it just in the middle. And then let's get the tips of these. This one's a little tricky because you can see there's flowers in the middle and leaves in the middle. But if something doesn't get inked, then we'll just cover it up with something else in a minute. And then I've got Old Olive. So I'm going to make that go up the stem. And this is going to get in some of the pink. There's just no way to avoid it. You could use a marker, but I wanted it to be a little bit more organic than that. And a marker is just a definite line. And I'm okay if it gets on a little bit of the flowers. So we've got that. And you know, our ink, you have plenty of time to work with this. We're not quite done. We have to stamp the leaves, which you can see are on the other side. So now let's go to our scraps. And because it's been sitting there, I'm going to just blow some hot air on it. And then just stamp here. And it's very pretty. Every time it's going to look a little bit different because every time well, for one, if you didn't clean your stamps like I didn't, then it will have some residual ink on it from the previous time that you stamped it, which is fine. It can just layer more colors of ink. It might get a little bit of ink transfer color to color. It wears it. There's not a ton of ink on a stamp. Most of it's coming off on your paper. So if it gets a little bit on your stamp pad, you wouldn't want to do it on a brand new like light yellow. Or, you know, maybe not your brand new parakeet because you might see that. And here's this one. And then let's do, I'm going to be able to get a leaf at least on the end of one of those. Now let's get this one. And it just kind of looks painted. It kind of looks like the shirts that we sometimes get at Macy's. A lot of times those aren't perfect. So let's go back to our Sahara scene. Let's do Crumb Cake. And on that one, I'm just going to do these leaves first. Whoops. Just kind of get the leaves, and then we'll get the stem and the edges with the olive. And because we're going to layer these, I'm not worried about anything being perfect, because if something doesn't stamp well, I'll just cover it up and layer right over the top of it. And let's see, I don't know if there's going to be any of these that I can get this thing on. There we go. Now look at it get all the rest of I just grabbed a bunch of scraps of that because I wasn't sure how much I would need. Look how pretty it is with that paper. So you don't have to have, because, you know, obviously what happens is we buy a stamp set and dies. They will last far longer than a pack of designer series paper does. So you want to be able to work with it past that. So now I'm going to show you these dies cut out all of this. And they're super easy to line up. They're not the ones where you have to play twisty, 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 twisty. They're pretty obvious. So those are a one pass through. Then these also come in the set. And this is the old rose gold, as you can tell. Or the old, it comes in the packet that's called Rose and Gold, or Gold and Rose. And it's 6x6. And it was in last year's catalog. I've used it a ton. And these are, again, I just got them out of my colored scrap box. I am going to show you this one, and this comes in this set. So I'll cut these out, and then I'll come back and show you that. Okay, so I've cut out all of our flowers and our leaves. So this makes a really lovely lattice, and there's going to be so many things that we can do with it. So I've cut it 4 by 5.5. Now here's the deal. If I wasn't using a 12 by 12 cardstock, I would cut it 4 1/4, because you can see it just lines up to it. So you have to be real careful when you lay it on there. But this is gold or rose gold foil, and I don't want to do 4 1/4 because that means I can only get 2 across instead of 3. So I'm just going to be careful, because that will save a lot of money. So it's just kind of up to you. If you feel like you have a problem lining it up, then you could. The other option that you have, I haven't even opened mine yet, it's super heavy, is you can get the new magnetic cutting plate that is in the new catalog. And I will show you, it's really heavy. I'm glad I got it. I almost did it as a free gift with purchase. It would have cost me, I would have had to do a flat rate envelope. It's so heavy to mail it. But if you put this on here, then it will not move. But I'm just going to be careful when I put mine through. And it works fine on my other one. It just has to be perfectly aligned. Because, you know, when you, and then the biggest secret is when you put this thing down, before you roll it through, just make sure it hasn't moved. Because sometimes when you put this plate down, that's when your dies move. And you also don't want it to go through speed bumps, so make sure it's going to go through at an angle. Because if it goes straight through, then that first roll, when the metal hits the bar, is super crunchy. As long as that point goes through first, then it avoids that. And you don't have to hold on to this one, because once it grabs, the whole thing is going to stay in place. And then I want you to, it does take a bit of muscle. And if you have it on the magnetic plate, it's going to take a little bit more muscle, because those magnetic plates, we had one before, but there was some quality issues with it once we started using it. But I want you to see this. I don't know where I put the other one, because when you're using the foil paper, you don't want to throw this away. That was one pass through, right? I didn't go back and forth. You especially don't want to do that if you have the magnetic plate. So see, you have plenty. This is my definition of plenty. Just enough to make it work. So you can do it with 4. You just have to be careful. And so then we're going to pull up. This is a plate that has seen better days. But look at these. They're going to be on just a card that I may film in just a minute. I thought about maybe I'm going to send them. They would kind of go, if I change the color scheme, could make it work in my VIP video project, because I could save them for that. I'm a little undecided. Once I popped them through, I'm like, oh, I could change that project. I haven't decided, because they're getting in your VIP project for the 50 and above for April. We're using the, it's called Linen something. I haven't filmed it, so I haven't paid that close attention to the name. But that was one pass through, so don't roll back and forth. It cut fine. So we have all these fun little triangles. And because it's this beautiful rose gold paper, I'm not throwing that out, because these, you can use those and glue those on all kinds of things. You could also do a more simple pattern than what we're going to do and put some of them back in here in a minute. They're not going to show on mine. We're going to fill this thing up because we're going to use it as a trellis. Isn't that pretty? But that was 4 by 5.5. So the 5.5, you can see I got just a little extra. So if you're doing regular cardstock, go ahead and just do 4 1/4 by 5.5, which would be a full quarter sheet of cardstock, and that'll give you a little bit more grace on this side. But it works. So there's no need to waste your cardstock. So now we just have to put this together. But look how pretty these are. And I'm just going to, you can order stamp cases that are empty, just empty stamp cases for storage, or you could just throw them in. You know how a lot of our embellishments come in bags. Our ribbon combos come in those little Ziploc bags. Just knock them into that and save them for when you need them. And then you have a fun little embellishment. So this goes together really quickly now. So this is Crumb Cake. Fold this in half. I'm going to use a fine tip glue. You could use the green glue. I like the fine tip for one. This is pretty fine, this trellis. But the reason I'm going to use glue is because we're going to build a little bouquet, a wall of flowers, whatever you want to call it. And if I use the glue, it'll be easier to move it if I lay something down and it's not where I want it, because you have a good few minutes before it sets hard enough that you can't move it. So right now I'm just going to put some glue here at the top, maybe like halfway down, because this down here are where the flowers are going to be, and there will be enough glue on the flowers that will hold the trellis down. So I got glue at the top, that way I can grab this and not worry about touching it. And then this is 4 by 5 1/4, and I can kind of center it by this one down here. So got that, and then my secret for any of these, just take your big block. It's just going to take a second to hold it. Now the green glue that we call it, the liquid glue, it makes a little bit more of a mess. So I like this because you can see it smushes out some, it'll dry clear, and plus my flowers are going to be up there. So now let's do our ribbon. Not going to tie a bow, because this card, it was funny when I did this card here, some people online said, how would you mail that? There's one dimensional on this, and so it looks like this is kind of crepey paper, very flat. Everything on this card is very flat. This is the only thing, and it's one dimensional. This has the same pearls that we're getting ready to put on. There's nothing on here. It's just paper. This card's going to feel the same way. I didn't use any dimensionals on it. So it might feel like it has a little bit of lift to it. It's just an optical illusion on camera and then in the picture. So here's the beautiful ribbon that we're going to use. And it is called, it's actually, if you're going to try it, this is the biggest ribbon you're going to get. Rose Gold and White. Because we're tying a big one in it with it. So just do a little piece. You don't want it to be too big. You could also, this was my dilemma. This would be pretty. This would be pretty. And these are my colors. This would be pretty. Several of our older ribbons would be pretty. Really, you can't go wrong with a lot of the new ribbons in the catalog. But the white frayed ribbon would be pretty. The one that's in the combo ribbon that's currently in the January to June that comes with the Moonlight, that would be pretty. So I'm going to take this, for this one I'm going to use my Stampin' Seal Plus. Just roll some here. This is the same thing I did on the seashell card. So you just have that loop, and you want to kind of, don't lay it on top of each other, but you want it long enough that in a second when we slide it down in the bouquet, that some's going to stick out the top. Now, look, that was just enough talking time. But that's where you want to go. So I'm going to start from this corner and work up. And the first time I did it, I just laid it all here, and then I just picked the pieces up, and because it's the fine tip glue, I was just able to just move the ones that hadn't set yet. Those aren't pieces from this. Okay, so let's start with this one. Isn't that a pretty piece? And the colors are a little bit different than my first one. For this one, you can take your trellisy piece, just kind of stick that down there. I think that might be making a shadow. And then let's take our ribbon, put some glue here. Lift that up. And I'll press it all hard at the end once I know everything is where I want it. But right now it allows me to kind of move it if I don't want it. And for the most part, I'm just putting glue on the bottom bits because I like that little bit of lift. And I think that's why in the video and on camera, it looks like people think it's not mailable. Because it is, it's kind of flipping up. Now let's go with our leaves over here. And make sure nothing's going to go off the side of your card. And then let's do this. And see, just that's going to be plenty to hold it. And now all that glue gunge that you might have been worried about, maybe you can't see it on camera. It's a little shiny, but it dries clear. And again, this will start to hold this stuff down. And in a second, I will add the block to it. That big block, I don't use it very much for stamping. I use it as a weight, as you just saw. I use it for a palette. Like I smear my markers on it, and then you can take your blender pen or your water painter. See, here's one where I want to kind of move stuff. This needs to go a little higher. Just move that up, move it in. And if you'd done it with a seal, then you would have a harder time kind of making that move. But when you just use the glue, everything can be moved. Slide that under there. And then here you have this little piece. This is what I call a fixer because it can really go anywhere. So if there's some place where you've smudged something or someplace like right here, my ribbon, if it has started to set and I can't, it has, because I keep moving stuff, it's kind of slid its way up. It's still wet enough though. Like I could have stuck that there if it needed it. Overall, this is arranged pretty much like my first one, but not all the way. But this doesn't really have to go anywhere. But sometimes, you know, you just have a mistake or you got a little bit of ink on your card or something just happened. So save your littlest piece for last. Just lay this here. And this is how you're going to be able to tell that this is a flat card. It's not great for the ribbon, so I'm not going to leave it on there for long. This corner down here may end up needing some glue once I'm done filming. But I could put the glue on it and then just take one of my smaller blocks or just take a corner and put that down there. I wanted to put the block on though before I put the pearls on, because once you put the pearls on, it's harder to get that block on there so it's holding. But it saves your hands from getting all sticky. Put that there. This is really the part that needs it. Now these are the new Iridescent Pearls, and they are part of this suite. The last couple of catalogs they haven't gone. Like this suite has ribbon and embellishments and this paper and this die. That's how they used to be, and they've kind of stopped doing that. This one I'm going to put 3 of the large ones. I have ink all over my hands. But this one does have these embellishments, and I didn't even really realize that. So in Try It, I don't know that I used them on this suite. In fact, I don't think I did. I think I used them with the blue paper stuff. So got that. The other card, I've done 5 little ones. So we can see, look, I think that's going to be fine. It didn't squish the ribbon too much, but that's a flat card. So later, if you see it and you're like, that looks like you could mail it, it's not true. But see, the stuff that doesn't have glue, you can still go back and lift it up. The only thing that stuck was where the glue was. So here's the one that has the 3. This one's kind of a little bit bigger. Same number of pieces, and I just smushed that one together a little bit more. Super pretty. So remember today, if you're watching and it's still the 6th, you have till it's midnight wherever your time is. I live in Eastern Standard Time, but I always let those of you, because I have several customers in Hawaii. That's where my daughter is right now. They come back. She's missing Mother's Day with her mother. And let me tell you what she said. I said, because they get back here Sunday night at 7. So, it's the end of Mother's Day. So I said, well, do you want to go out for dinner? And the two of them were like, well, it will have been a really long trip. And I said, well, we could still do dinner. It is Mother's Day. And she said, well, I've done a lot of Mother's Days with you. I think she said, I've done 27 Mother's Days with you. And I said, I've been your mother for 27 years. So we're not doing Mother's Day. I'm doing Mother's Day tomorrow with my mom. So happy Mother's Day to all of you guys. But we decided that we wanted to do some things that would be crowded on Mother's Day. And so my sister and my mom and I and all of the guys are doing something on Saturday instead. We're going to be a little non-traditional with none of our children. Well, I guess my mom has her children. So there you go. So I was saying all that to say you have until it's midnight in your time zone to get in on the extra specials, and you can find those on my website. Everybody have a great day and have a fabulous weekend. Bye-bye.